This week, as we've gotten closer and closer to the Supreme Court issuing its ruling on the Affordable Care Act and the constitutionality of the act, we've seen a really interesting thing happen on the side of Republicans who have to this point largely been in lockstep in opposition to the measure, calling for its undoing, and in fact putting together a lot of those lawsuits at the state level that ended up in front of the Supreme Court.
We want Obamacare repealed, and we want...
But now with the expectation that the Supreme Court could strike down parts or indeed all of the actual law itself, conservatives are coming around to having to confront the reality that there are parts of that law that are still individually deeply popular. And many of the individual policy platforms have actually been conservative ideas. We need to look no further than the two most prominent Republicans on the national stage right now. That's Mitt Romney and Scott Walker.
I'm going to get rid of Obamacare.
Mitt Romney said this week that people with pre-existing conditions should be allowed to keep their insurance, but so long as they've actually had continuing insurance coverage. If you want to get insurance coverage and have a pre-existing condition, Mitt Romney would put you at the mercy of the market. Walker, for his part, seemed to acknowledge that there were parts of the Affordable Care Act that may well be good policy, but for which a mandate would be required, just not at the federal level. Stepping aside for a second from the policy and into the politics, I think the Republicans, no matter their planning and positioning right now, still probably consider themselves to be in a stronger position than the White House and than Democrats to deal with whatever fallout or any aftermath there is from the decision, because they have succeeded at defining the terms of the debate and defining the terms of the health care law, indeed relabeling it successfully as ObamaCare on the national stage. I think there was a real failure on the part of the White House after that bill was passed to actually argue its merits to the American people. This was a bill they expended all of their political capital on and then in a way ran away from. And if in fact the law is defeated in any way at the Supreme Court, that'll be read as a pretty serious defeat for the president's major policy initiative. If in fact parts of the law or the law in its entirety are struck down, I think you're going to hear a lot of ideas about what to do next, but not a lot of political will to do it, simply because A, the numbers aren't there for either party, but also B, the space we're in right now, and also the space we're going to be in the short to medium term future is not going to be conducive to confronting this kind of big issue again, like they did back in 2009. And that's a big problem because the undoing of this bill in a lot of ways brings us right back to the point where we have a real ill healthcare system, but not yet a way to solve it.